Welcome to Mind of the Modern Cam. I'm Cameron Lee Michael, your host. Today I'd like to bring up immigration and how it relates to the job market in America. Last week, our head of state signed an executive order banning travel from 7 Middle Eastern countries. Now, I quote him as saying, "This is not about religion, this is about terror and keeping our country safe. My first priority will always be to protect and serve our country, but as president, I will find ways to help all those who are suffering." Now, to set aside my gut reaction, this is a very broad stroke that he's used to just keep people out. He's keeping the good and the bad out all at the same time, and that's not what we do in America. That's not how America works. This is an act first and clean up the mess later type of legislation. It didn't specify as to what happens to those coming into this country with legal documentation. People were left stranded and detained at airports all across the country. There were protests at airports everywhere. And they continued to progress all through the week, and the confirmation hearings didn't help. That just added to the chaos. Now, the propaganda of evil America is being fueled by this kind of executive order. Our recent election and now the first 2 weeks of a new administration have proven that truth need not apply to the public opinion that's out there. Do we Americans want to be seen as allowing only certain demographics to enter our country? Do we want to pick and choose? Or do we want any of those out there who are in need to find refuge here, like our ancestors did? We were founded on immigration. To turn back on that seems a slippery slope. Now, defining security measures is one thing, but excluding 7 entire countries is a completely other. These policies have also put into question the job market in America. Where can foreign workers come from? Now, the ban has the cover of national security, with a not so indirect path at eventually affecting where employers can hire their employees from. We have to keep a close eye on what the truth is, checking both what we hear from the news and what we hear from the horse's mouth. Now, without further ado, let's get to our first conversation.
Teachers are coming, so make your plans. You can try to stop it if you think you can. Just a little conversation with my common man. So welcome to the mind of the modern Cam. Welcome to the mind of the modern Cam. Welcome to the mind of the modern Cam.
I'd like to welcome my friend Ryan Berry to be the first guest host of Mind of the Modern Cam. Thanks for being here tonight, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, Cam.
All right, so now I spoke in the opening a little bit as to immigration and a little bit about how the president has handled immigration lately. Now,
Sure.
I see that in our pre-interview we talked about it, and you said you've done a little bit of research yourself on how immigration is being put out there in the world. Could you talk to that point a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I mean, one of the first things I did when I knew that your topic was going to be immigration is I hopped online, like I think any millennial now would, and I tried to do some research. So, coming from the state of Ohio, where I live, I get most of my sources from NPR because that's seems to be the best source. So, something that's kind of interesting is I thought I would take a look at what information was out there from different types of websites as well. So when I type in executive order immigration, I type that into NPR's website. The very first thing that comes up is Trump's executive order, word for word. It's the actual document that you can read, that you can actually take any type of notes from. You can actually take any context and actually take take those points and make your own idea of what that means and what that's actually entailing. I do agree on some of your earlier remarks. There was a lot of confusion and a lot of things that could have been worded much differently to help prevent a lot of this media side of it. Now, what's interesting too is that let's say I go to CNN's website and I type in the exact same thing, executive order immigration.
Right.
Everything that's coming up doesn't even refer to that as an executive order. Everything is called a Muslim ban. Everything that's on here is talking about how it's not like Obama, how the travel ban and companies are speaking out, and it's all negative in every single way to what this is and basically how bad of a person Trump is. Right or wrong, it's all. I couldn't even find anywhere on here the actual document for the executive order on CNN website. On the flip side, I went to Fox News, typed in the exact same thing, executive order immigration. It came up with 3 results, which is kind of crazy in itself. And all of those 3, all 3 of these articles are related to Obama not having a right to use executive order, which I think is kind of ironic in the situation that we're in now. But nowhere here does it even mention the executive order portion when I search that. You have to search Muslim ban, you have to search different things that everything is persuading on their end of senators and different people standing up for Trump. And again, nowhere to get actual facts. So I think one of the problems with the state of the nation at this point is people are getting their information from these different sources that they may or may not realize are persuading what they think about this topic before they even realize it.
Now, that seems to be that it goes on par with either being far right or far left right now, that there's this polarization of Democrats and Republicans, and there's very few that are in between that are thinking clearly. I mean, there's extremists on both sides, obviously. We've seen it with the protests that are going on, and we've seen it with now the administration and how they're handling some of these hot button issues.
Sure.
So what is it that you're seeing around you that can really help those, help those in your area to maybe not lean so far in whatever direction they're leaning?
It starts with being educated. It starts with knowing the facts, knowing what is actually happening as opposed to someone telling you what they think is happening. When you look at social media, you look at the way that, our world is connected now and how fast news travels, and you look at, social platforms like Twitter. And, I can tell you my Facebook feed coming from, the state of Ohio, which is a huge swing state, it seems like hatred of back and forth of people always saying the most extreme side to their right or to the left that they can to try to make their point of how good or bad a President Trump is already being, how good or bad of a President Obama was, how thankful they are that Obama's not there and Trump's doing the right thing, then you see the complete opposite. So I think that, I think America needs to take a step back and they need to think not as much, do I hate this person or do I hate that person? But they need to say, what are the facts? And is this person doing the right thing or are they doing the wrong thing?
Right. Now, it seems we have a president right now that is very eager to get his message out there, obviously with all the tweeting that's going on. So, so do you think he's doing the same thing that the media is doing and trying to persuade to his side just as much as the media that he complains about?
I think yes and no. I think that in certain avenues, yes, absolutely. The way that he words a tweet or the way that he, I think the biggest thing I notice with his Twitter specifically is how he tries to show power and he tries to show that he's the bigger man or he's forcing these things on, if it's Americans, other countries, that these policies are. But I think it is kind of unique because you are getting this information in some ways straight from the horse's mouth. So there are different avenues that, he's completely changing the way that Americans can get that information as opposed to going to a site like NPR or somewhere else. Right. If you can get it directly from from the president's mouth, if he's able to put that out in a correct way, I mean, I think the problem, if you look at this immigration law and all this ban that we're going through, one of the problems is because it was worded there was people that could just pick that apart and say, okay, this is what's wrong with it, and this is what's great about that, and they go off on their own stories, and that takes over the headlines. Where he could have just as easily used that Twitter handle to say, this is exactly what's happening, this is why it's happening, and you could really take out a lot of those, in between the lines, if you will, and really let out, this is why this is happening, this is what we're doing to fix it, and this is the plan going forward. I feel like he's not utilizing something as powerful as his Twitter handle to be able to do that properly.
It feels like right now the way he's handling himself is just creating a wider gap between those that oppose him right now. It doesn't seem like he's doing much to try to unite the country that he's putting first. It seems like there's
with you can see that if you look at any type of approval rates and things like that, you see that already, that his approval rate is already dropping even from people that did vote for him because of the way he's handling himself. And I think you're absolutely right. You look at past presidents, the first thing that they normally do when they come into presidency is they try to reunite the country, and he's going the complete opposite direction. Now, yes, he's doing things that he's promised that he's going to do and affect that, but at the same time, I feel like you need to unite your country to be going in that direction before you just start firing off, different policies and different executive orders without a lot of information and education to back it up.
He certainly doesn't seem to be, dotting his I's and crossing all his T's before he lets loose whatever is on his mind at the moment. And I feel like that's what you said
it well at the beginning of your intro when you said that he's rattling these things off and shooting from the hip, and then he's basically cleaning up afterwards. That's basically the system he's using currently.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this is a good starter conversation to have, and all of you out there, take the time to talk about this with those that you work with your friends, with your family. That's what this show is all about. We're trying to get people to talk. I encourage you to send comments to me, post. If you'd like to join the show and be a guest host one of these days, and you have something you'd like to talk about or get off your chest, or try to refute anything that we're saying, please, I welcome it. That's what this is about. We want conversations to happen. I want to thank Ryan Berry again for being on the show tonight. It was great having you. And in mind of the modern Cam, pay attention out there.
Mind of the modern Cam.